I'm Will Greenwald, and you're watching Loot Drop on Geek.com. First, a clarification. The Super Nintendo was the best game system of the 16-bit era. Come at me, Sega nerds! Okay, let's drop the console war stuff. The SNES and Sega Genesis were both classic. They were great games on both systems. The Super Nintendo was still better. Let's put that all behind us, because this is the hypest thing I've ever shown off on Loot Drop. Yes, it's more hype than Metroplex, and yes, it's also Transformer. In Japan and Europe, the Sega Genesis was called the Mega Drive. The perennial villain in Transformers is Megatron. This is the Megatron Mega Drive. It's not a custom figure, it's not a statue, it's not fake. This is a Megatron Transformer made by Tomy Takara that turns into a Sega Mega Drive. First, behold the box. I don't like keeping toys mint, but this box deserves special recognition. Classic Mega Drive logo on the inside, a nice door with a window so you can see Megatron if you want to keep him in this, and the greatest phrase I've ever seen used to describe anything. Fully transformable, antagonistic video game console. It's not an acronym, it doesn't spell anything, but it sounds amazing. Fully transformable, antagonistic video game console. We'll start with the alt mode. This is the Mega Drive and it looks fantastic. Tomy Takara also made a limited run of 1,000 Sega Genesis Megatrons, but I'm not quite psychotic enough to hunt one down, and besides, Megatron Mega Drive fits way better anyway, just better name. Anyway, this is a classic 16-bit console with a gold 16-bit logo below the cartridge slot. The slot actually works, and you can put an included Sonic the Hedgehog cartridge in it. It doesn't do anything, and it doesn't transform, but it's a great touch. There's also a Japanese Sonic the Hedgehog cartridge, and it says, "World's Most Famous Hedgehog." There's the power switch, controller ports, lots of tiny little sculpted and painted details, and even a controller port with a plug you can move to plug in the included controller. Besides the seams, this is a fantastic alt mode and a worthy Mega Drive Genesis replica. Robot mode isn't quite as impressive because it's basically Megatron in head and arm cannon only. The colors, the design aspects, none of it really says Megatron except a head sculpt straight from a reissued G1 Megs and an arm cannon that has a weird USB-looking rectangular barrel on the end. Who does he think he is, Cable? The cartridge doesn't do anything, but it sits in his chest if you want to keep it there. And the controller splits into something equally vestigial. These become kind of shoulder blade wing things that help balance Megatron, but don't really add anything interesting to the design. Also, his feet are horrible. Quarter circles flip down to form his heels, and his ankles are these little bird feet hinges that make standing him up a huge pain. That part's disappointing. That said, both the alt and robot modes are cool and pretty free of kibble. The transformation process is direct without being overly simple, but there are a few little plastic flaps you need to keep folded in just the right way when transforming, and it makes the process more annoying than it should be. The transformation involves pulling the arms and legs out of the center of the Mega Drive and unfolding them, and pulling the side away to transform it into the arm cannon. Really, the process feels a little bit Rock Lords-ish. Also, a few of the tiny plastic clips and hooks don't sit quite right in different forms, which would be a minor nuisance except for the arm cannon. It won't snap into his arm, so you have to balance him just right to keep it attached. It might just be an issue with my Megatron, but it's a pain. This is an imported Japanese Transformer, so he isn't cheap. I found him for $130 at Image Anime, a Japanese toy and hobby store in New York, so yeah, he's pricey. And his transformation is a bit of a pain, and he doesn't really look like Megatron except his head. Is he still worth it? Hell yeah! He's a Transformer that turns into a Sega Genesis. If you're a gamer and a Transformers fan, he's fantastic, detailed, and looks good. If this sounds like the sort of thing you want and you're not put off by the price of importing a Japanese figure, he's great. There's also an Optimus Prime PlayStation Transformer coming, and I might take a look at it in the future. Really, with the gray, blocky design of the PlayStation, that would have been more appropriate for Megatron than the Mega Drive. Of course, then what would Optimus Prime be? Bandai Playdia? For more Geek Toys collectibles and things you can buy, keep watching Loot Drop on Geek.com.